You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
The Herons are champs. Yeah. Roll south to Freedom Park, rocking pink and black. Official tissue in the 305, bounty full of greats. The Battered Fan with Chris and Dan dropping hot takes. Messi and the Herons start the season with a star on the crest, so 29 fan bases can cry cause we the best. Sign homegrowns like Noah, Frey and Ruiz, replacing goats with greats. Yeah, Miles got the cheese and he called it. Freedom to dream was the backbone. From Lockhart to Miami, it feels good to be at home. Multiple times a week on YouTube and audio. Take the time to subscribe, like and share the show. So check and chat, grab your MLS cup and coming. No question about it, I'm ready to get a star again.
No question about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
Batter fam, the Herons are back. Welcome to another episode of the Batter Herons podcast. I am your host, Chris Duran. It is episode 488, guys. We are literally 17 days away from official tissue kickoff. Alongside me usually is Danny, but he is MIA today. I will be having a host with me, but they're not in just yet. They should be crawling in shortly. But it is what it is. Hopefully you guys can be able to hang tight with me and we'll get this party started. There's a couple questions. Thanks for, by the way, those of you that are in the chat, thank you guys so much for hanging out before the show. It's really cool that you guys are participating and asking questions and stuff like that. One of the first questions was by Bella asking, will Allende play? And I think I saw somewhere that he's not going to be able to play because he doesn't have his visa or paperwork lined up, or he's not going to be able to travel to Ecuador to play. I believe the same thing was said about Beterame. Don't take my word for it, but I believe that's the case for both. So I'm going to have to double check that for you. And this news, JD and Flo is saying Baltasar coming back to save us. There was somebody else here that also is mentioning something right here. Clay is saying, I'm happy they're planning to bring Baltasar back. Segovia doesn't fit the system. I don't know. I don't think we could be able to shoot down Segovia like that. Shout out to John Paul Terrazas. Says, I just got tickets to the Miami versus LAFC game. Good stuff. That's going to be a movie. And not because of all the actors and producers that are going to be out there. I mean, I guess it's a good line. It fits the area that they're going to be, doing the game at. Mike V is actually saying, I'll take a mid-Argentine player over a really good Venezuelan player any day. It's just facts. That's diabolical. And nobody has called ice on Danny, guys. Nobody's calling ice on him. I don't know if I'd rather have Baltasar over Segovia. I mean, Segovia has sort of stayed true, which this is a good point, though, by Soccer Daddy saying Segovia is slow. Yeah, I mean, as far as pace and I guess athletic ability, you could say that Baltasar has the edge. But I think that Segovia offers a little bit more on defense. And I think his passing is underrated. I think that his passing is good. I think his shooting capability is fantastic. Because if there's anybody last season that had some of the best goals, for sure, Segovia is one of the top 3 players that had the most entertaining goals last season, even though Baltasar had a blaster one game. And this is kind of critical here. Pepto-Bismol saying our mids are mid. I mean, our mids are, listen, if you compare our mids to the mid that we have, which is Messi, then I don't know. Mitch is asking a very, very good question here, guys. Did we lose Danny to Minnesota United now that James is going out there. Listen, I didn't want to talk about this because it's something that I wanted to bring up in the MLS show, but it is crazy to see that James is possibly going to be signed with Minnesota. There's nothing been confirmed yet. But how coincidental is it that we were talking about Gressel as James Gressel is now going to be linked together with the actual James? I mean, the passing is going to be fantastic out there. I don't know about the finishing. And guys, I can't be wrong. Pepto-Bismol saying crack. Are you smoking it, Chris? I am not smoking it. I am not smoking crack here. Okay.
Wait,
I'm
who's
just
smoking
calling it
crack
like
here?
it is. Oh my goodness. Tommy, two-time came in. What's going on, Tommy?
Well, I was sitting upstairs with my wife, and I saw you having to handle this on your own. I assumed Solana was maybe running a couple minutes late, and I figured I'm Solana
Yes.
like negative 0.10, so I figured I'd just come in and say hi. I have the login, so why the hell not? Why not stop by?
Well, I mean, it's great. And thank you for joining us. Absolutely, Tommy. Listen, I'd love, yeah, and I love the bottom. If you guys could see there, for those of you on audio, I'm sorry, but under Tommy, it says not Danny. So, I mean, Atlanta, geez. I mean, I can't wait to do the Atlanta preview.
Ta-ta.
Yes, that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fantastic. Well, I mean, you want to hang out for the Miami party? Because we got a couple things to talk about, nothing crazy.
I
But
got a
we got
couple minutes,
Solana
and
backstage
I
here.
saw this guy's coming in.
Let me bring
Yeah,
Solana on.
I was celebrating my brother's dog's birthday. I guess that's a thing nowadays.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
I don't have a dog. I didn't know. So he called me today. He's like, "Hey, you got to come over. It's Fauci's birthday." And I was like, "All right, what time?" He ordered some pollo tropical. We got there, a little family dinner. Hey, it was good to go. Now I'm ready for the Inter Miami podcast.
Wait a minute, like Dr. Fauci?
Let's go. I mean,
that's what my brother named him after. Yeah.
Okay, I was just making sure that I heard that right.
Yep.
And by the way, Solana, just to mention here, Mitch is saying Solana was confirming with sources that Giannis is on his way.
Hey, he might be on his way, man. That would be huge, and that would be another superstar in the South Florida area to join Messi. And hey, man, it could happen. Hopefully, it happens, and if it does, Danny and I will be live tomorrow morning or Friday morning to talk about that trade. But I'm excited to talk a little bit about Inter Miami with the guys getting back to training today, and some faces finally getting some training with the team. And we got a big game coming up this weekend. Barcelona Sporting Club over in Ecuador. The Champions Cup continues, and hey, it's they're 1-1 in the preseason, Chris. And how's Atlanta doing, Tommy?
I mean, we showed up, and I think we beat a USL team. So I mean, we're better than last year, and nothing could be worse than it was last year. I thought you were you leaning into that Inter Miami? Because I'm waiting to see the 3-paragraph tweet from you that's like, why can't other teams go out and get Giannis to play center back for them? I mean, it might happen.
If it happens, I might end up throwing it out there. You never know. But this time it's going to be 4 paragraphs, not 3.
Let me ask you guys a question. Was it 2 years ago that Miami went on like that world tour, like that really long preseason, or was it last year?
It was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, where they went over to the Middle East, and then they went to Asia. Yeah, 2 years ago, because last year they played in Central America.
Your guys' preseason always seems to be really long compared to everyone else. And I know you're in other competitions too, and I know Champions League's starting up here too. But like you guys always seem to have a ton of preseason games. I mean, that's what happens when you're Miami, I guess.
You got to make the money
that's what
somehow,
it feels like. Well, and I think that's what it feels like, because like the games are being available, which I was actually going to ask you at some point when we talk about the Barcelona deal. I'm you know what? Let me just talk about it now. I mean, Inter Miami has a preseason game. We're playing against Barcelona. Trust the Barcelona. It's funny because my son, he was like, "Oh man, I'm just gonna tell people Inter Miami's playing the actual Barcelona team. Just trust they're playing Barcelona, but they're actually playing Ecuador's Barcelona, and they are playing against a team that when I looked them up, they actually are like second in the standings in what's called Liga Pro. And recently in their games, they lost the last game a couple days ago. Then they lost. Then they lost again. They had two losses recently, and then they won a couple games before that. Now, this was the question I was going to ask you, Tommy. Have you bought in or actually watched any of the Inter Miami preseason games?
No.
Why would he, Chris? He's an Atlanta fan.
I mean,
He's not
I like.
bucks on watching Messi like
How
us.
much?
Well,
Wait,
I
how
mean, I
much does
just
it
wanted
cost
to
for a
get
preseason
I
game?
want to get a
Hold on.
perspective of.
Well, let me
It's fine.
pretend like it's Atlanta. How much is it to watch a preseason game?
$5 per preseason game, or you could have gotten the entire package for $9.99.
Oh, yeah, I would have paid that, man. Like it. Look, you go December until February, and you have none of your team to watch. So if you're telling me I could spend two nights of watching preseason, hell yeah. I mean, I watched a free one on YouTube from Atlanta on Saturday. Like, but I'll pay $10. And I don't want to pay $10 because I think that's bullshit that you should have to pay for preseason games. But normally you wouldn't even get access, like even have the ability to watch it normally anyways.
I mean, I $5
Well,
is
and
not.
I just want to say my connection is horrible, by the way.
Do you have
You're
good
just-
internet wherever
I
you
just
are?
need
Because
to
I was
say
on your
that.
drive-in. You had terrible internet on your morning coffee drive-in. You have terrible internet at your home. Like,
Terrible.
is Solana and I the only ones that pay for good internet here?
Mine's free. Mine comes with my complex.
Listen, I pay for
Oh,
top-notch
look at this guy
internet.
bragging.
Yeah, man, it's super fast too. It never
Well,
gets cut
I
off.
just want to mention something. I want to mention something here real quick because this is becoming a disaster. Because Mr. Krabs has a legitimate question, but I think it's answerable because Mr. Krabs said, "Why would Tommy watch our games?" Listen, I've become an MLS sicko. I was watching sort of a play-by-play on Twitter of New England's first game. And I was watching updates until Campana scored in the last minute. So, like, there's people out there that are trying to consume MLS regardless, and this is on a grand scale. So, I figured it was a good question to ask because you never know. There's people that are not Inter Miami fans that are just want to see MLS content.
I mean, people watch other preseason games for the NFL. It's really but you do have to go out of your way and pay an extra $10 for a couple. That's the only difference. So I wouldn't say like for an MLS sicko they pay some extra money to watch a preseason game here. But maybe now that you have to pay for MLS season pass, you got some extra cash in your pocket. Bravo, MLS.
Yeah, but you saw what happened, right? They
Yeah.
cut the package down so you don't have to pay anything, but they cut all the Spanish language programming, and most of the English guys are not going to be doing the commentating either. They're going to be outsourcing all that to London. So we're going to get a bunch of English guys on our broadcast.
I saw that, and I'll leave with this because I gotta go. I wasn't supposed to sneak down to the basement for this. I said this on Scarves and Spikes today, but there's been a lot of stories over the past couple days about writers losing their jobs. Sorry to bring it down here, but the Washington Post, the local Atlanta thing, the AJC, they fired a bunch of people. Like it sucks right now for anyone in the media. So supporting local writers, supporting podcasts, what you guys do, what we do, it's pretty awesome. Even if you can't throw, to throw money or whatever that way, just like you say, Chris, like clicking the like button, subscribing, all that stuff. It's pretty awesome for us. So I'm gonna go back upstairs. I left the TV on, so she's
It's all
watching
much
me right now. I gotta
appreciated.
go. All right. I'll leave you. Good seeing you, Solana.
Thank
You
you
too,
so
Tom.
much, Tommy, for hopping on. Much appreciated.
Later.
I like. I was gonna
Solana, hopefully you can bear with.
No, I was gonna say, I'm looking at Soccer Daddy's question. Solana is eating everyone's jobs. It's not me, guys. I'm just doing what I can do, and not eating anybody's job. Just doing what I'm trying to do, doing my thing. But yeah, man, talking about Barcelona, Chris. So I know a lot about the team. I know a lot about the team. My wife is from Ecuador.
Yeah.
My wife is a fan of Barcelona Sporting Club.
Yeah,
My
Danny told me.
brother-in-law is has stakes in the team and knows the owner. So I know them very well. They're definitely one of the better teams in Ecuador. Obviously, the other top teams are Liga de Quito, Independiente del Valle, which we actually play in a couple of weeks. And the other team that is kind of up there is Emelec. Those are the main four teams in Ecuador right now. Barcelona Sporting Club is probably the most popular out of all those teams. And they have one of the bigger stadiums. So I would expect a full stadium this weekend. I know somebody in the chat said that they signed Dario Benedetto, who was rumored to had said that he would love to play for Inter Miami. He goes now to play for Ecuador. And yeah, they just had their first preseason match last week, the Noche Amarilla, which they tied 0-0. But I expect a normal preseason game this Saturday with Inter Miami finally ramping up towards the end of their preseason, Barcelona starting their preseason. So I expect another game just like how we played on Saturday against Atlético Nacional, and we'll see what happens.
Well, and I want to say something here in terms of Barcelona that we're going to be playing this weekend. The teams that we played previously in the preseason, they just ramped up their season a couple games in. But Barcelona from Ecuador has been 30 games into their season. Like, they're not just in form, they are well in form, and they're doing pretty good. I mean, they've allowed one of the most goals allowed in terms of like the top 6-7 teams of the league. So they do have a leaky defense. But other than that, they're a phenomenal team. They don't draw often. They do have a lot more losses, but as far as Barcelona itself, like, this team is like I mentioned, they're in second place. I don't know much about the league, and you know more than I can even think of, but they're doing fairly well aside from the two recent losses that they've had. Well, and hold on, Mike V is saying they are in preseason. Listen,
Yeah, they're in preseason.
I'm looking it up, and I see in the group stage that so they are in preseason.
Yeah. They just played their first preseason match last Saturday against Guayaquil City, if I'm not mistaken. And they had it's basically what they call their Noche Amarilla. It's their night that they present the team, similar to what they had in Lima when they presented, Alianza Lima, similar to what they had in Colombia when they present their team. So it was their first preseason match. This will be their second or third preseason match. But look, these guys basically play year round, and I expect.
I just noticed that because the last game was the 31st of January, but the game before that was the 21st of December. So it was only a month that they had a break. But before that, they played 3 times in December. They played 4 times in November. Like, they played 4 times in October. They played 4 times in September. Like, they had a month break. Is that, I guess, considered like the off season?
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily. They play until December, and then they have about a month break before they start ramping it up back again. And yeah, they basically now will play one of their short tournaments, and they also have Copa Libertadores, which a lot of their teams play. Then they'll have Copa Sudamericana as well, and then they'll wrap up with the second half of the tournament in the fall, and then they'll crown a champion in November or December. So similar to how the MLS season runs, it's obviously not one long tournament like how the MLS does. It's 2 short tournaments.
Yeah.
But yeah, they basically play year round in Ecuador, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, and look, Alex is asking here, preseason is very important, results are not. So what do you expect to see from Miami? Now, this is absolutely true. Like, the preseason is important because that's where, excuse me, that's where you're going to see sort of how the team gels, how they work together, how the positioning is working. I don't think that Mascherano is putting all his cards on the table in terms of putting the formation that he wants to use long term in terms of like the season or what he thinks is going to be the best. Uh what I expect to see from Miami is a better performance than the last game, right? In terms of like just improvement, right? The first game we lost, but we saw that they were rusty. Second game, they ended up playing better against Atletico, and it was a win technically, but we still played a lot better. So that's what I'm expecting, just to see a little bit more gelling, a little bit more cohesiveness with the team, a little bit more compactness. What are you expecting, Solano?
I mean, a little bit similar to what you're expecting, right? I just want to see them get better. I want to see the guys who haven't gotten minutes get a little bit more minutes, just to see exactly what we can get out of them. Now, I expect Mascherano most likely to go with a 4-4-2 again. But like you said, I don't think he's kind of putting out all of his cards, right? We've heard Noah Allen after practices talking to the media and explaining how, they're playing different different formations in practice. They're, trying different things in practice. So I expect Mascherano to continue trying things to see who he can play in certain positions. For example, you got Facundo Mura, who played right back last game, then finished the game at left back. Maybe we see him start at left back. Maybe we see a full game of him at left back. Maybe you only see him at left back for a half, but we'll see. Mascherano needs to start trying different pieces because obviously, Reguilon is hurt. You don't have a lot of depth in the midfield with only a couple of midfielders. You don't have a lot of depth in wingers. So he needs to start and try different players in different positions to see exactly what you have. Obviously, we know that the transfer window doesn't close until February, so you still have a month and a half, a couple of months to get some players. But in order to get the players, you need to know what you have on the roster. And so I expect to see some more minutes for these players. I expect to see an Inter Miami who has maybe a more defined idea of what their strategy is going to be. We'll hopefully see some of that on Saturday. But I don't expect to see much different than what we saw the first couple of games. I'll just be happy if, like you said, we see some improvement overall from the team. We see the team function a little bit better. And if we can get some good minutes out of the young guys as well to see exactly what we have with them, I think that'll be the right way to go for Mascherano.
Well, and I think that's going to be critical because I think the idea here is to see how the young guys are going to gel, especially when you have players like that are getting injured throughout the season or needing rest. You talked about Reguilon, that he just got injured. How is Noah Allen going to fare at that position? You have Segovia, who's been playing, I think, probably the most amount of minutes out of any player in this preseason. There's got to be a purpose for that. As far as, look, you just mentioned it here. Allende is in Argentina. Allende is not going to play in this game because of, legal paperwork. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I mentioned in the beginning, I think Beterame is also having some issues in terms of his visa. I'm not 100% sure about it, but there is a possibility that he's not going to be playing as well. So that's something that I'm going to have to probably check on and update everybody with.
I think Herman is going to play similar to how he did last week. So his issue is more he can't train in the United States because he doesn't have a working visa yet to be able to train. Yeah. But since the team is playing outside of the United States, he can technically, and since it's not an official game, he can technically integrate the game day roster and be a part of it. And so I do expect him to be a part of it. In terms of what's going on with Allende, it's a little bit more intricate in terms of, he's waiting for his visa. He hasn't trained with the team yet. He hasn't even been in Miami. We know that Berterame is here. He can't train because he has that limitation with the visa, but we know that he most likely will travel with the team and he should be good to go for this weekend. I just don't know if he's going to start, but we should definitely see him get minutes this weekend.
And talking about somebody else that just apparently got their paperwork in order and finally appeared formally is Dane Sinclair. And this was a talking point. I told you that I wanted to talk about this because he had a couple questions asked to him. I guess in the whole presser thing that they have for the practice today. And I want to mention something here because I'm going to put up a picture that Danny earlier sent me with a quote. And this has been going around online. And I want to mention something. This quote that I'm going to show you and I'm about to read, it is not quote for quote, word for word, what he said in its totality. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this up here. And it's basically a picture of Dane Sinclair interviewing this morning. And it says, the key reason for accepting Miami was the opportunity to play in the World Cup, as playing with Miami offers significant exposure. I also have the dream of moving to Europe, which is why we opted for a short contract. Now, mind you, the quote was similar to this. But for those of you that actually watched the interview, he did not say that exactly as it stated. He was asked the question, and he did mention that he made the move in preparation for the World Cup. He knows that there's significant exposure. But the fact is he didn't say that that's why he opted for a short contract. Now, I don't know if you were able to catch that portion of the interview, but first of all, I let me know if you were able to go ahead and listen to the interview, because I have an opinion about something else in the interview.
I didn't get a chance to listen to what he said today, but remember, I was at MLS Media Day and I did get a chance to speak to him personally. And I asked very similar questions than what were asked to him at the presser today. So in terms of what his answers could have been, I imagine they were very similar to what he said a couple of weeks ago over at MLS Media Day in terms of, wanting to come over here. Obviously, playing with Messi was one of the attractions. And then just like he said, in terms of getting the exposure, obviously we know Inter Miami is probably the number one team when it comes to exposure in the MLS and getting out there. And they're going to be playing a lot of tournaments this year, Chris. They're going to be playing the MLS Cup. They're going to be playing the CONCACAF Champions Cup. They're going to be playing Leagues Cup. And so I think that this gives him the best opportunity to be seen by teams overseas. And eventually, maybe if it's not, it might not be next year, it might be the year after. But I think just like he said, his ultimate goal is to be in Europe. And I think he's good enough to go to Europe. I just think he needs to be seen. And unfortunately, playing with Minnesota, playing with the Loons, you just don't really get seen. So
I think he
made a great decision by coming to Miami.
And Miami King is saying it here. The reporter mentioned his signing term when asked. Well, and he did ask. So, for example, I'll give you kind of the best I can give as far as like a play-by-play here. So he was asked by one reporter about the fact that he made the change for the World Cup. And then he said, yeah, I mean, this move was made because I want to challenge myself and I want to play with the best and I want to play at a high level. And I'm preparing for the World Cup. And I did sign a 1-year agreement, and we'll see what happens later. Then it was asked of him to see, okay, well, are you striving to go to Europe? Are you striving to go to play in bigger leagues? And he said, yeah, of course. The long-term goal is to play for a bigger team in Europe. But right now he's focused on the World Cup. He's focused on performing at his best, blah, 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 all that sort of, cliche jargon that you get from players. But I just want everyone to understand that this quote here that you guys see is not exactly the quote that he said. So any of you guys that catch this online, call it out if you actually heard and listened to the interview. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention, and I wish you would have listened to the interview, Solano, because immediately after that question, because he mentioned about whether he's been learning Spanish or not. And so he said, I know the basics in Spanish, but then he said, I'm going to start doing classes like as of today. And I don't know what happened, but like 3 or 4 reporters just got the biggest hard on. And they all started asking, like all of them just jumping on each other, like, say something in Spanish. Like this guy, they just put him on blast to say something in Spanish. And he's like, well, what do you want me to say? Like, figure. And then they're like, oh, hey, ¿cómo estás? Blah, 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 blah. And then he started like, he's frozen there. He's like, yeah, derecha, izquierda. And I thought it was so awkward, the sort of like moment that they kind of placed on him and how excited they were to kind of figure out how much Spanish to play with Spanish. Like he even said it. He's like, look, I know the basics. They know some English. I know some Spanish. I'm pretty sure it's not that, difficult.
No, of course not. I mean, but are you surprised? Are you surprised that we get that type of questions from the pool of reporters that are in there? I'm not, because first, why would you ask a player if they want to go to Europe? Doesn't every player dream of going to Europe? Isn't that the dream of every single soccer player, no matter where you are in the world? Your dream is to end up playing in Europe. So the fact that you ask Dane Sinclair this question, like, oh, you signed this short-term contract. Obviously, he says you want to go to Europe, and you continue to ask and to proud at that. I don't get it. And then in terms of the Spanish thing, I mean, to put a player on the spot when he doesn't speak the language, fluently, I think, like you said, is extremely cringe. I think somebody said it in the chat as well. It's cringe. And I just don't get it. I mean, I understand that maybe they get excited because, hey, he's learning, but there's a right time and a right place to get into that conversation. And in front of 15 other reporters and all that, it's just not the right time to have that conversation or to put him on the spot. So I feel for Dane. I mean, I get the fact that there's a big pool of reporters that mainly speak Spanish out there for Inter Miami. So I can understand that makes them excited because it'll get them some good content. Fantastic. But
of course,
there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. And I just don't think it was the right way to do it how they did it today.
Well, and I just wanted to talk about it because Rubita is asking, wasn't the show to talk about the game versus Barcelona? I'm confused. It wasn't necessarily to talk about Barcelona. Like, we're not here, to break down, the formations and weaknesses and strong suits of Barcelona. Like, this is a preseason game. But I did want to, by the way, Rubita, I did want to talk about it because Dane Sinclair, this was his first sort of, I guess, opportunity to the media, aside from like where you went to with the whole media deal. This was the first time that he was available to media during like practice and during time with the players. So that's why I wanted to talk about it. But as far as like the game against Ecuador's Barcelona, I did want to talk a little bit about that. And yes, I checked the title, Joshua. I know. I do still want to talk about it.
Yeah, but what do folks
we'll do our, I guess, predictions. That's the thing. Like, what is there to know? Like, what
your questions? I mean, look, Chris, I'm going to throw this one out there, and I don't know what the reaction is going to be to this, but did you know that Barcelona has a player called Yannick Hickler Cardoso? Sounds very, very, very,
really?
very.
That is an interesting name.
To another name there, to another not popular name, but yeah, they named this guy.
Yes, it is
Hickler Cardoso.
That is an interesting name. Somebody mentioned in the chat also that Alan Obando might be playing for Barcelona. I mean, technically, I don't know. I guess maybe he can because he's still contracted with Barcelona. I mean, who knows? As far as the lineups are concerned, I do see that there's some players that ended up getting, yellow cards and red cards a game or two ago. The expectation that I have of this game, when it comes to playing against a team in South America, it's always going to be rough. They always play a little rough around the edges, and this is going to be a very competitive game. And Ecuador knows their football. And so I'm pretty sure that they're going to respect Messi, but I think that this is going to be an extremely competitive game, especially considering that Barcelona doesn't want to get stepped on by Messi and the squad.
Nobody wants to get stepped on by Messi, especially a Messi team that's an MLS team, right? You go into South America, you're playing against some of these teams who play Copa Libertadores, who play Copa Sudamericana, and arguably those are tougher tournaments than what MLS is plays. And so you don't want to get embarrassed by an MLS team, but going into that as the MLS team, you need to go get a win because you need to continue to show that MLS can continue to compete with the South American teams, especially with all this noise around Inter Miami, around the rest of the MLS, and around Liga MX finally being able to join back up to Copa Libertadores. And if Messi can play Copa Libertadores in 2027, I mean, that would just be a thing of beauty. That's the only trophy I believe he has yet to not win. And I'm not saying Inter Miami is going to win it, but just to see him play and to see Inter Miami play in some of those South American stadiums and to have those teams come to Miami Freedom Park, that's going to be a thing of beauty. I mean, really, you talk about being in the center, in the heart of the soccer world. There's nothing more passionate. There's nothing more crazy. There's nothing more exciting than the Copa Libertadores.
Well, and right now, I mean, it was reported, just somebody put it in the chat right now, that Barcelona is playing soccer. Daddy mentioned it. They're winning 2-1. So any of you that are interested in keeping up with Ecuadorian soccer league, you can be able to go ahead and watch them.
It's just a friendly, though. They're playing against, like I said, they're playing against Guayaquil City, who is a team that is owned by the City Group, similar to NYCFC and those other teams that are owned by the City Group. But it's just a friendly game. It's nothing crazy. They lost to Guayaquil City on last Saturday, 1-0. And this is just another friendly. So they also have the next friendly will be on Saturday against Inter Miami. So they're just in their rounds of friendlies as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a competitive game. And it's so funny because I was looking up some of the information of the game, and they have this game touted as the match of history. So for those of you that are interested in watching the match of history, it is going to be this Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be on OneFootball or whatever manner you guys decide to illegally stream it on. Are you going to be watching the game, Solana?
I will be on. I have to watch it. And obviously, this is going to be a big rivalry. I had my son ask me and my wife, who are you going for? And I was like, I want Inter Miami to win. He asked my wife. My wife's like, Barcelona. So it's going to be, a head knocker in our house, in our household. I might actually be going to my brother-in-law's house. So I will be outnumbered by the number of Barcelona fans.
Oh, nice.
But if we score, I'll make sure that the neighbors hear it.
Yeah, man, for sure, dude. I mean, look, Barcelona, and I've seen this team. I've seen stuff of this team in the past. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm like this know-it-all that knows a ton about this team. I don't in any way, shape, or form, other than just doing some preliminary research. But in the preliminary research that I did, like you mentioned, they are one of the top teams consistently. So it's got to mean something there. So that's always a good thing.
It is, and responding to Reaper Blaugrana over there. I'm sleeping on the couch anyways, man. I'm in the doghouse right now.
Yeah, Reaper saying if Miami wins, Solana sleeping on the couch. Listen, guys, as far as Alex is mentioning, when was the last time you guys watched the friendly? And he mentioned earlier that friendlies don't exist. I think he mentioned it, or somebody else did. I think in this case, because of how much eyes are on the game, I think even the players that play for Barcelona know the importance and the impact that this game will have on even their own careers. Because I'm sure players in that Colombian team, in Atletico's team, they probably got looked at more just off of that game versus their normal games that they play in Colombia. And it's a preseason game, so it is important.
Yeah, no doubt. It's important. And these friendly games, although they're just glorified practice games, because that's really what they are, right? You can do unlimited subs. But you can see over the last couple of games, both teams are taking it serious, right? Alianza Lima took it serious. They were going 150% to every ball. They injured Sergio Reguilon. And then in the Atlético Nacional game, the teams were going at it as well. So although they're glorified practice games, I mean, just like you said, Chris, the eyes are on these matchups because of who's playing, right? Because you have Messi, because you have Inter Miami, who is so spoken about around the world right now. And yeah, there's going to be a lot more eyes on the game just because Messi and co are going to be playing. And that's what teams want, right? They want that exposure. The players are looking forward to a game like this. Not only do they get to play against Messi, but they have an opportunity to score against his team and to make an impact. And that could mean the difference of making an extra $2, $3, $4 million by getting sold to a Brazilian market, to an Argentinian market, or even to Europe. So yeah, no doubt that although they're glorified friendlies, glorified practice games, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on these players for these games.
Well, real quick, I guess we can go over like starting lineup, and we'll do a prediction just for the shits and giggles. Miami King is asking starting 11 guys, Chris and Solana. I'll tell you, I think that Dane Sinclair is going to start at goalkeeper. I feel like Mikael is going to get the start this time, and he's going to get it with Falcon in the back next to him. Noah Allen's in the back, and I feel like Frey is going to get the start at right back. Or what I think may happen, and this is just a little twist, I think that Muda might get a shot at playing at left back. I'm pretty sure that Mascherano wants to see what that looks like, right? He's got some time to tinker a little bit. So I think that that's a possibility. As far as the midfield is concerned, I think it's going to be Ayala and RDP. And then on the left, I think it's going to be Segovia. On the right, I think it will be on the right, I think it's going to be Silvetti. And then on the top, you're going to have Luis Suarez. Yeah, you're going to have Luis Suarez and Messi at the top.
Yeah, I agree with you almost 100%. I think that because of who you're playing, because of the style of play that Barcelona plays, because they're so physical, I would opt for going with Mura on the left and then going with Ian Frey on the right, because I think that gives you a little bit more physicality in the back. Obviously, Noah Allen, we know he's a fantastic player, but he doesn't have that stature that Facundo Mura or that Ian Frey have, and you're playing against a team with a big players, physical players, and I just think, unfortunately for Noah, the matchup isn't there, and I would love to see Facundo Mura from the start to see exactly what he can do. In the Discord the other day, we were talking about Mura, and somebody mentioned that he had played left back and started against San Lorenzo when they won their game. I think it was 2-1 against them or 2-0. And they showed his heat map, and it looked like he was playing pretty good, very offensive on the left side. But then again, it's a different league, it's a different team, and so you need to see what he can give you with these types of players on the pitch. So I think it's the right call, Chris, to start Muda at left back. You already know what Noah can give you, both at left back and at center back. So why not try something new and see if you can unlock the code or break the code in terms of putting Muda at left back, at least until Reguilon comes back.
So that's going to be your back four. I mean, I'm assuming that you agree with me with the remainder of the lineup then.
Yeah. I don't think Berterame gets a start yet. I think he needs to train with the team a couple of days before he gets, 60, 70 minutes. I do see him getting 30, 40 minutes, maybe even a half. Maybe you only see Suarez play a half. We'll have to see what happens. But I agree with you, on 99% of that lineup. And I would just like to see Muda at left back just to see what he can give us.
And I want to mention something. And you know what? I'm going to wait to mention this towards the end. I guess we'll do like a prediction here. I'm just going to go with an outlandish prediction, especially seeing that Barcelona leaks a couple goals. I'm gonna go ahead, and if the score last game was 2-1, I'm gonna say it's gonna be 3-2 Inter Miami wins. What do you think?
I'm gonna go 3-1 Inter Miami. I think they're ready to put some goals into the back of the net. I think they're starting to figure things out. We saw a much better second half in Colombia than we did in the first half. So if we could see that same team with that same intensity start the game, I think you're going to see them score a couple of goals and get some in the back of the net. And the defense is getting better. The defense has been getting better. We saw them get better in the Atlético Nacional game. Now, if you start Mikael, if you start Falcón, you'll see a much more, I guess, steady center back pairing than we've seen over the last year with all the different guys that have worked in and out of that center back with Falcón.
Yes.
I really liked what I saw from Mikael in the 15-20 minutes he played the other day, and I'm really excited to see them play together.
Well, and I can't wait to watch him start. But this is the point that I wanted to make as far as the whole thing that's going on in the back line, because Miami King is mentioning, yes, Mura as the left back is better. I want to say something on our way out of here. And I know that Pedri is going to rain down. So Pedri, get your tough thumbs ready, buddy. Okay? Because I just think that it is a little defeating. And I'm not speaking as the player myself, but I'm just saying if I was in their shoes. Noah Allen, for you that have been watching this team. And this is why when people talk about you don't know football, like whenever I see people say that, and I don't know football, like for everything. But as far as Inter Miami goes, I've watched this team for a super long time, almost from the beginning. And maybe you can agree with me here, Solana, but Noah Allen, since he's gotten on this team, has made such a drastic improvement and has, I guess, contributed to this team more than a lot of people would ever anticipate. And I think it's a sad thing because he's grown from being an inexperienced left back, moved to center back for a need, played well at that position. And then now that the left back is temporarily opened, there's a possibility because of Facundo Mura that he might not even start at center back or left back in the temporary time. So I just want to be able to mention that. And I have the question, and I'm going to ask the question to you and to the chat, if you guys can answer while Solana answers. Am I wrong for thinking that? For those of you that have been watching this team for a long time, I mean, what do you think, Solana?
Yeah, I think it's a two-part question here. The first part is talking about the growth and the evolution of Noah Allen since he first got on this team as a homegrown player. And if you can remember, and if I remember correctly, he got his first minutes with Phil Neville when Phil Neville was the coach of this team. And he started off at left back, and he was really raw, right? He was really raw, made a lot of mistakes, didn't attack very well, but he started to evolve, and he started to understand how to play, and he got some really good coaching under Tata Martino. He also got some pretty decent coaching now under Javier Mascherano, but credit to the rest of the team, right? Credit to Jordi Alba, credit to Falcón, credit to the other guys who have played and have helped Noah get to where he is. And nobody can argue with you, Chris. Nobody can argue with anybody about Noah Allen because Noah Allen was a starting left center back on an MLS Cup team. And it wasn't like he was a starter every once in a while. No, he was the starter for the team for most of the season, and you can't take that away from him. So I think that's the first part of the question. Now, second part, I know that with the left back position somewhat open because of Reguilón's injury, I think the easiest thing would be to slide Noah in there. Why? Because you've seen him play there before. I think, he can give you some good minutes. I just don't think that Noah is ready to play center or left back. Because I don't think, again, he has that attacking similar to what Jordi did. I don't think he defends that well. I think that he's much better as a left center back because he has the help of the left back and he has the help of the right center back to cover up some of his mistakes and some of his out of positions that he gets into. So, I think, again, it would be easier to slot him in. That would probably be the right thing to do, but I'm of the opinion that this team needs to go out and get another left back. if Facundo Mura doesn't turn out to be the answer, at least for the next 6 weeks, while Reguilon is out at left back. If this team really wants to compete in CONCACAF Champions Cup, they want to win the trophy, they want to get into the finals, they want to make some noise, I just don't think Noah Allen is the right guy to start at left back for you.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think it's a fair assessment. I think all criticism, whether it's bad or whether it's good, positive or negative, I think it's fair. I think it's Noah Allen has had moments where he hasn't been at his best or at his, he hasn't been at his best. He's had some bad games, he's had some good games. So I just wanted to throw that out there because Facundo Mura is shaking things up on a lot of parts on the defense. So I can't wait to see the development of Facundo Mura. So that's going to be very interesting. Solana, any final words before we head out?
No, man. No, just excited for the game, excited that you brought me on and we got to talk a little bit about Inter Miami. And thank you to everybody who joined because without them, the show would be boring. It would just be you and me talking. So I love all the fans that comment in the chat, especially Pedri. Yeah, I didn't want to bring him up, but since we're at the last point here, talking about these bums hyped up Kermaski is playing in Europe. These bums hyped up Ruiz. I'll give you that one, Pedri. Hyped up Drake. I never hyped up Drake, so don't even go there. I don't overhype Bright either. So I don't know who you're talking to when you write Pedri. If these comments are to both of us, if they're directly to Chris, if they are, I don't agree with you, Pedri. I believe Chris, just as well as how Noah Allen evolved in soccer, in football, I believe Chris has done a fantastic job in evolving his soccer knowledge over the last couple of years. If you go back and look at episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's night and day. Chris, you're another person. You are a football genius today compared to what you were 2 to 3 years ago. So I commend you, and not only that, but I'm proud of you for learning more and understanding the sport more, and it just makes the shows a lot more fun.
Yeah, man. And I mean, I'll answer Pedri because they keep on poking me to answer him. I mean, Kremaski, I've had negative points on him, but he's in Europe, so he's doing his thing. Okay. As far as getting hyped about Ruiz getting a red card, listen, let me tell you something. Ruiz is a very skilled player. And if he didn't get injured last season, I promise you he would have had more minutes and he probably would have been getting looked at by other teams. Drake is a good shot blocker. Aside from that, not good at his feet. And you're going to see that, I think, with Dane Sinclair. And overhyped bums like Bright. Listen, Bright was making more. He was making less than what truck drivers make. And he was contributing heavily to this team, not just this past season, but the season before when we lost against Atlanta. We literally lost the last 2 games of 3 series against Atlanta. And at halftime in the second game, Bright went down and we lost the game. And the third game he didn't play, we lost the game. So that's facts. So there's that. So guys, thank you so much for hanging out in the chat with us. For those of you listening on audio, give us a 5 stars and say, Pedri, be quiet. And for those of you in the chat, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, especially you, Pedri. We love you around here. You can be critical all you want. It's a fun time here with people that are critical or having fun, whatever it is. Appreciate all of you guys in the chat. Please like and subscribe. Let somebody that you know that there is an Inter Miami football podcast. 120 of you guys watching, guys. We need 120 likes. Okay.
At least.
So thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We'll be doing another show probably later this week. But until the next one, mi gente, have a good one.